And then, when we look at principles of engagement, we are looking at, power imbalances, and these principles are, we are basing this on values like respect, responsibility, accountability, anti-discrimination, equality, equity, confidentiality, integrity. All these issues are very important when it comes to engaging people with lived experience in research projects, because people with lived experience are already dealing with so much. So we do need, when we are engaged in any project, whether research or any other thing, we need a space of people who actually see our value and respect us, people who actually do not discriminate Edwin because he has bipolar or because he has, attempted suicide. We need people who will look at Edwin as a person who is responsible, a person who is managing their mental health, a human being in general, just like any other. So be upfront, have integrity when you're dealing with us, be open, be fair, and make sure that these are the things that you uphold so that we can be able to have an engagement that will impact lives as we intend to. So there are things we call, considerations or reasonable accommodations. And reasonable accommodation, I think I had mentioned these earlier, but these are specific to each individual, and it's now for the team or for people to understand that this person might require this and this person might require this, and we come to a place where we both can accommodate that person. I heard Rosemary mention about what you call noise cancelling headphones, and like personally, I actually benefit from having noise cancelling headphones, and people at times think actually I put them on for music. And when they hear the cost, at times they just think I'm extravagant. But in noisy environments, if I come to your office and it is noisy and I have to work, they will help me block out that noise. So imagine being in a research team, and maybe you are in the field and there's that need to concentrate. Some of these things might help. Okay, so it is important for as the project begins and as we look at everything to understand that some people might need reasonable accommodations. So we experience, very different mental health conditions, and we have side effects of medications. Like some of my side effects is I don't sleep that well. Okay, so it becomes a challenge when I wake up in the morning, or in the middle of the day, I'll feel sluggish. So if I'm involved in a project that is needing me like 24/7 or needing me on a daily basis, I prefer waking up very early in the morning because I'm good with that, and working up to around 12 or 1, because after that I will. So those are some of the things that some people might need. And when we look at reasonable accommodations, like I said, we are even looking at it in a bigger scale. If you have a research team and you're flying them out, understanding, that some people might, when you're booking flights, I know people who don't want to sit in the window seat, they want to be in the aisle seat, and that can mess up their flight if they don't get that. So these are some of the things that we might, a person with lived experience might benefit from and might need when you are doing when you are dealing with a person with lived experience, when you're booking hotels. These are some of the things that so this is what we mean by reasonable accommodations. Reasonable accommodations, like for example, you can look at give reasonable deadlines and timeframes. look at, I have mentioned about time zones. And one of the most important things that I think people might not, and I think it's people do not really look into it, is the concentration span of people. At times when you have two stretch, you'll find that some sessions just do 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. By, like, for example, in my case, giving an example from my own lived experience, uh, you put me in a session for 3 hours, I will be good maybe for 2 hours. The last hour, I'll be struggling. So if it is broken down, yes. If you can be able to give breaks in between, well and good, But those are some of the very simple, reasonable accommodation that a person who is not experiencing such challenges might not understand, you know and providing information from top to bottom, such that a person can look through whatever information is there and ask questions and get timely feedback. The other important thing is, do we have peer support in such settings? Yes, you are running these research, but you have people with lived experience, and you even have other people, but it can get overwhelming. Is there peer support? That is where we were talking about when it comes to promoting well-being. What are you doing for that team so that if in case they get burned out, if in case they get overwhelmed, what do you have in place? Or do you just, force them to go on, or just kick them out just because they have they have experienced, some challenges. So these are very important things for a person with lived experience, and a person as a person who has worked with a few, been involved in a few research projects that involve, providing, involve maybe deadlines, involve things like different time zones. I have been, I have observed that most of them have given us reasonable accommodations, especially in terms of time zones, the sessions that we are having, the information that we are providing. They will it is something that they have uh, basically been able to look into and come up with a way that we can feel that we are part of the process and we are not being left behind because we have a lived experience of a mental health condition. So this last bit is basically like an acronym for what we understand when it comes to lived experience and being involved in a lived experience research. Some we can say it's sorry, I think just a minute. Yeah, we're looking at it's from the word consult. And one, you look at create an engaging and supportive space to enable quality contributions. Okay. Uh, the other bit is obtain diverse representation with of people with lived experience. Like if we are engaged in a research project like the Global Mental Health Peer Network, we have members from uh, all over the world. We have representations from Africa. We have from Asia, America, South America. So at times we will be required to will be involved in a research, and they only want people from low middle income countries. So we have a pool that we can get that has people, and people with diverse conditions, because maybe the project is looking at schizophrenia only, so we cannot bring in a person with a lived experience of bipolar. But if we are talking about depression and anxiety, and they want people from both low income and high income, so we'll get a person from Europe, a person from America, a person from Africa, a person from Asia, a person from India, and you find that that is what we are calling a diverse representation of people, so that you can enhance the equality of what you're doing. So we say no to power imbalances, tokenism, discrimination, and stigmatization. And as a person who has actually experienced a lot of stigma, I think this is a big one for me. And I know most people with lived experience know how this feels when you you actually face a stigma when you're involved in a project or involved in any engagement. So these are some of the things that we even as you conduct your research, this should be at the back of your mind, and sustain a mutually respected partnership. And I think this is very important because, and I'll borrow from my lived experience, when I got involved with the Welcome Trust for the Workplace Mental Health Stigma, research project, I remember very well that after we were done, I think through through the through what we did, I eventually got to work with two other organizations based on that, because and this was borrowed this I borrow from the fact that it was a very good partnership. It was a very good engagement for both parties, both the Welcome Trust and the people who we were working with. So these are kind of mutually respected partnerships, and creating such will definitely put your team and people who you are working with in places where they can be able to engage more and work and provide more resources in terms of what they can contribute to research. So uphold the principles of effective engagement and consultation, and this is of utmost importance, because you look at this now will remove the aspect of tokenism, the fact that you are putting Edwin, or you're bringing in Edwin in the research team, because you know that if he's included, these will have some weight, and this will look good for you, but you are not really engaging him. But if you uphold the principles of effective engagement and consultation, it means that Edwin and any other person with lived experience as part of your research project has been involved from the beginning to the end. And when we talk of the beginning to the end, even before the research starts, like for some of the ones I've been involved in, before it starts, we have had like an orientation meeting, and we are taken through, this is what will be required of you, this is what we need, this is what we might look at, and so that even as we engage, we already have that feeling that we are part of a team. So that is very important. And then leverage lived experience expertise through meaningful and authentic inclusion. I cannot say more about that, because that is basically self-explanatory. And transform policy and practice that is an accurate reflection of lived experience voices. And that basically is trying to reiterate what we have always trying to put across, that the voices of people with lived experience matter, and they for research, for policy, and for service delivery to be effective going forward, we have to have people with the lived experience talk about how they want to be presented, how they how they want how they want each and every aspect of their life to be looked into or to be looked at. And we can only do that if we are in a position, or if we put ourselves in a position that I am here, my voice matters, and we need to work together. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We lost you for a second.
Okay. I was at the last point. I was talking about transform policy and practice that is an accurate reflection of lived experience voices. Simply saying that people with lived experience have they have a voice, and that voice matters, and that voice is important. It's of utmost importance that whatever people with lived experience to be taken into consideration and to be taken with the weight that it deserves. I think